sheriff-elect. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Sounds really great.
Are you ready?
I think so. You know, it's about as ready as I can be for it. I'm excited about the opportunity I've been given.
Was there ever a point in your life that you'd be like, okay, I want to be the sheriff of Pulaski County?
About a year and a half ago. Not before that. You know, the thought crossed my mind, but I thought, you know, I really didn't want to get into the politics of it. And it wasn't until recently that I thought, this is an opportunity for me. I've been working or volunteering with a reentry program for about 3 years. And just seeing how the sheriff's office, you have that detention facility. You know, one of the things you have, you know, any given day you have over 1,100 individuals staying in that facility. And these are people all over the county that have been arrested for various reasons. And you have the opportunity to try to, I believe, have an impact on their lives instead of just housing them until they go to court or, if convicted, until they go to prison. What can we do to try to impact their lives? So
what are some ideas or goals that you hope to have as you begin that tenure as sheriff?
Well, you know, I think one of the big things we have to do is really look, how do we truly bridge the gap throughout the whole county with the community. I think the sheriff's office has a pretty good relationship in the outlying areas of the county, but I think it needs to be improved, and we need to look at new ways of making those connections, and that's one of the things I'm going to do initially is having those conversations with people throughout the county, and including in the city areas. Just to build relationships, see what the needs are, what the perception is, and how we can reach them. You know, I think that's really community policing. You know, I think community policing morphed into more of the police telling the community what you can do to help us. And I think the real goal of community policing is to sit down with the community and ask them, how do we help you to improve the quality of life in your community. So
you mentioned also in the city of Little Rock too. I mean, and you're a former Little Rock police officer. Are you hoping to put more, I guess, deputies in the city limits? Is that maybe a conversation you hope to have long term?
You know, the county has jurisdiction throughout the county, obviously, and I think the local agencies, Little Rock, North Little Rock, sure, where they do a pretty good job of policing their areas. But I think we can't just ignore that, ignore what goes on in our cities. We need to try to ensure that we're partnering with them. I wish I could say I had enough deputies to really put alongside the local agencies, but what I'm looking at doing is, how can we do some community policing in our cities? The sheriff's office has a great program, the Reserve Deputy Program. And these are men and women who volunteer their time to be trained and work with the sheriff's office. And so I'm looking, how can we expand that? And those individuals, some of them live in the counties area, outside the cities, and some live within the cities. So how can we partner with the local agencies to bring some community policing into the areas? You know, maybe it's they don't have enough officers to really do community policing in their communities. Can we augment that with some reserve deputies? You know, but I'm not talking about neglecting the rest of the county. What I'm talking about doing is trying to add to what we can do.
What do you think your biggest struggle will be when you take office January 1st? Because this is new sheriff, new administration, new leadership, new ideas, new goals. What do you think your biggest struggle will be January 1st and moving forward?
You know, first of all, I want to say I think you have some good men and women that work there, and I'm excited about working with those individuals. They will adjust to me. They're career law enforcement people, and so that's going to be just a small adjustment, I believe. I think the biggest adjustment is going to be, or the challenge is going to be, having people understand what I want to do about reentry. You know, a lot of times people look at law enforcement, look at a police agency or sheriff's department, and they say, we don't have anything to do with reentry. Well, we have everything to do with reentry. A lot of times when we think of people coming back to our community, we look at people going to prison and they're coming back. And if the recidivism rate in Arkansas is around 56, 58%, so within 3 years people going back to prison. Well, where are they going before they go back to prison? They're coming through our county jails. And I think we need to look, what my goal is to, I think a challenge is having the software, the data collection. Because I think we need to look at recidivism on a county level. You know, one of those individuals that's coming back into our facility, maybe low-level offenses, that some would say. But what's driving that? Because I believe that when people do the right thing or people do the wrong thing, those are just symptoms of what's going on internally. You know, someone may have mental health issues and that needs to be addressed, not in incarceration. Some may have drug addiction issues. Some there are other issues going on in their life, and then we can drill down into those core things. Now,
these would be programs inside the jail.
Right, exactly. I'm not the expert in this. I've had a little taste of working with people who are incarcerated and seeing the light bulb come on in them, seeing them have opportunity, seeing when someone believes in you and believe that you can do something different. I think that has an impact on people's lives.
You know, the jail has had, you know, some great success over the last, you know, couple of years. There haven't been any suicides. Right. I mean, you haven't had any escapes, except the Juvenile Detention Center. The jail has seen some great progress, and it sounds like you want to add to that and add to, I guess, you want to lower the return rate.
Right, exactly. And I think the previous or current administration has done some things to address the suicide, creating environments in there to prevent people from jumping and injuring themselves. And I think the medical program they have going there, I think that's very beneficial. They've made some changes. There's still a lot of changes need to be made there. I think it's a continual progress. We need to update that detention center. And when I talk about that, I know some would say, oh my gosh, you're talking about money. Yes, I am talking about money, but I'm also looking in ways we can save money and how we can, the resources we have, how we can better allocate it. And the facility needs to be updated they've started updating the camera systems. We've got to continue that. The other control systems in the facility needs to be updated. And it's going to take some resources to do that.
What do you, I guess speaking of money, the Sheriff's Office, I don't think it's any secret, has kind of been behind the game on technology in terms of dash cams, body cams, things like that. Are you hoping to add dash cams and body cameras to your deputies?
Absolutely. I think you have to have that. And of course, we'll be looking at grant opportunities for that. And then again, we have to look at our priority on our spending, on other areas that we are using our resources. Because I think while some people wouldn't like having a camera on them all day long, the reality of it is that everyone has a camera. They have their cell phone. And it's been my experience, those body cameras and the dash cams provide a lot of information and really, more times than not, support the officers in their statements. But then there's times when you may catch an officer wrong, but I think that's a good thing. If an officer makes a mistake or is doing something wrong, they need to be held accountable for it.
So you support the body cameras?
Absolutely.
In terms of money, what other things would you like to see, I guess advancements in technology throughout the Sheriff's Office with deputies that will help not only keep the county safe, but also keep deputies safe?
Well, of course, I think the deputies are equipped pretty well with their some safety equipment, but I think the body cameras are definitely a need. I think we have to look at the technology that we have with our crime information system, how we tracking and gathering data to assess where the areas we need to address. I think that's key. But I also think a key thing in officer safety is relationships in the community, building long-term relationships, sustainable relationships. That doesn't mean you don't make arrests in the community. We do that. But really, what are the issues in our community? You know, it's not, we can't be arrest-driven. We have to be safety-driven. And we have to focus on the community build relationships and see what the real issues are. We have to be preventive, and that means working with our youth. We need to have a good youth program where we're addressing our youth. We need to do youth camps where we're bringing the youth together to engage with officers in a summer camp environment where we can engage in that area. I think we need to have, and what my plan is to have some, I call them intimate dinners throughout the county. You know, a lot of times we have public forums and we bring the people in and law enforcement stands up on the stage and we tell you things and you have an opportunity to ask questions. But a lot of times you don't get to ask that second question. And I think if we can have some moments around the county, when I say intimate moments, I'm talking maybe 10 individuals from the county, whether it's detention officers or deputies or deputies work the street or civilians and the sheriff, along with maybe 20 people from the community, whether it's a church community, whether it's in Wrightsville, in Higgins, in Little Rock, Sherwood, wherever, where we sit down and have some conversation. So you have an opportunity to go beyond just asking one question, but to dig a little deeper. And through that, I believe you get to know me, not just as a deputy or a sheriff, but as an individual. And that deputy gets to know you as an individual. Because sometimes we get caught up in the job and all we're responding to are negative things. And so I think when we build those relationships on that personal level, it's going to impact you because you're going to share that experience with your kids and with your cousins and so forth. So that creates a more safer environment, I believe, for the deputy.
How would you grade the current relationship between city police departments and the county sheriff's office? And how would you like to improve that?
I think it's a good relationship. I think it's been kind of you're in your lane and I'm in my lane, and if we need help, absolutely they cross over and work together. I think it's more on the county side of what we need to do.
You want to be more.
I want to be more engaging. You know, for example,
with the city police.
With the city police department and what goes on in the city. I mean, for example, the sheriff's office in the county jail is where? It's in the city of Little Rock, yeah. And it's right on Roosevelt Road. I think we need to take some ownership in our neighborhood. Now, that doesn't mean trying to take anything from Little Rock Police Department as a police community. That's not what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is, instead of just being in that facility and focusing on the surrounding areas, as someone told me, the county sheriff's office is a donut. You know, you operate on the perimeters. And I say we need to be filled. We need to be a filled donut. Because we need to build relationships where we're at. And there's, you know, the compassion centers right down the street from the facility.
Does that help you track crime better, I guess, in the county when you know what's happening in the city limits?
I think, and the agencies work together. I mean, if we're experiencing, if the county experienced something in the more rural areas, they're going to share the information with Little Rock. If Little Rock experiences, you know, a string of robberies or what have you, they're sharing the information. The information is going all over. So I think what it does is help to increase our presence and build a relationship. Because when people think of law enforcement, think it's not just county and Little Rock. No, it's whatever. It's all of us. And if I can build a stronger relationship, if I can assist in building a stronger relationship, whether it's in Jacksonville or Sherwood or Little Rock, for law enforcement, then that benefits all of us. And therefore people are willing to talk to us and share information with us. But we're also able to identify the needs of the community. You know, you asked what other technology I'd like to have. I'd like to put some information in the deputies' cars of resources. You know, a lot of times the only contact some people have with the government is through law enforcement. And if we can put some resources in the vehicle, a database in the car, so that the example I give is if a deputy's out there and runs across Miss Smith, and Miss Smith is a grandmother taking care of her grandkids, and the refrigerator goes out, and she comes up to sees a deputy, you know, patrolling the area, making contact with people, and approaches the deputy and says, "Hey, refrigerator just went out." I don't expect the deputy to buy a refrigerator, but I do expect the deputy to. I should provide that deputy with the information, some resources that maybe he or she can relay to Miss Smith to try to help her to get a refrigerator replaced, because that's going to impact the community. Because I think if we can change people's perception of law enforcement, that some people think, and a lot of people know why we're there and we're helpful, but some people think that we're just there to arrest people. If we can change that to see us as a resource to assist the community, then that impacts the relationship in the community, and I think that's going to create a better, safer environment for not only the deputies but for the local agencies as well.
How has the transition been between you and Sheriff Holliday?
It's been great. You know, Doc has opened his door to me. I have his two chiefs are leaving, retiring with him. They've had a long career with Doc, and so I have two individuals coming in.
Who are those individuals?
Ernest Witten, he'll be the chief deputy over enforcement, and Chuck Hendricks, he'll be chief deputy over detention. Those two individuals are coming with me, and Doc has opened his door. In fact, they've been there working, shadowing their counterparts for the last couple of months. So he's been very open with me and providing wise counsel to me, and I appreciate that.
Did you expect it to go smooth? Are you surprised, or were you expecting a smooth transition?
You know, I was expecting it to go smooth. As you know, Doc retired from Little Rock Police Department, and at one point he was my lieutenant, he was my captain, and then when he retired, I was assistant chief. So, you know, we've known each other over the years. So I expected, and his two chiefs that are there now, Mike Lowry, Mike Sylvester, they both came from Little Rock also. So I knew them. I expected a good transition. Is
there anything else that you'd like to add that I haven't brought up yet that you want to talk about? On
the reentry side, you know, one of my goals is to provide a reentry facility for people who are incarcerated, people who have been convicted in Pulaski County, and their parole plans come back to Pulaski County. I'd like to get them about, I say, 3 to 6 months before their release date, to slow down their release. Because what I've found through my, I'll say, limited experience working with people who are incarcerated, is that if we can slow down the process, that they're not just, you know, all of a sudden you're released and you're out there and you're trying to figure all of it out beyond your parole plan, but, you know, getting your job and everything else. If we can slow it down and help them process making some concrete decisions, I think that'll benefit them. It'll help to restore them to the community. And I believe that if someone is involved in, say, breaking into houses or what have you, and their core issue is drug addiction, and if we can address that core issue and better prepare them coming out to not get involved in the same activities, then they're not going to do the burglaries.
Do you think you'll have the financial support to do that?
I think there's a lot of support out there. It is my goal to establish a sheriff foundation to try to draw some support from individuals and apply for grants that will come in, and it'll be specifically for prevention and reentry. Because I think we have to deal with our youth, like I mentioned earlier. We have to address our youth and help them to be prepared to be adults and make wise decisions. And then we have to address the people who are coming back into our community to restore them well. And of course, in the middle is the day-to-day policing, prevention, and then with the detention, like you're talking about, putting in programs in there. We've got to have peer counselors in our facility. You know, people who had drug addiction before, who have recovered. They are, I say, over it, but they're living a good life, and they've had the training that they need to come in and help those who are struggling with addiction to make the right choices. Because, you know, even though I enjoy engaging with these individuals and trying to give them hope, I recognize that, you know, some things that I don't know, some experiences I haven't had, and they need that from those other individuals. So we've got to open up the facility to do that. I know there's some programs in there, and it's my goal to evaluate those programs. I'm not interested in someone who just wants to, you know, count a person as, you know, the number of people involved in the program. I'm looking for results.
These programs will be result-driven.
It has to be, because otherwise we're spinning our wheels. You know, that's why everything we do, how we patrol a neighborhood, how we decide our districts and how many people we have out there and what we're addressing, we have to look at the outcomes. You know, it's not about arrest. You know, we're going to make arrests, but the way you evaluate a law enforcement agency of their effectiveness is the absence of crime, not how many arrests you make. Because you can make a lot of arrests and not have any real impact on crime in the community and on the quality of life. So we have to do that. And I know there's people that don't like the idea of reentry, and they see a lot of dollar signs behind that, and it's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take some money. Well, we're spending money now. And we're spending money locking people up. We're spending money on law enforcement. Individuals are spending money replacing property and things of that nature. And so it takes a little bit, but we have to look at it long term. I believe if we address it the right way, of prevention and intervention, I think we can have a sustainable drop in crime. And you know, like I said, the crime, it's a result of individual choices and what's going on in that individuals. And we can restore people to the community in a good way, then they're not going to commit a crime. More importantly, they're a productive citizen in our community. That's the most important thing. The byproduct is we have a reduction in crime. And that's what we're supposed to be involved in.
Perfect. Good deal. Unless there's anything else. Well, I think we talked about it all, didn't we?
I think we did. I think we did.